here on Labor Day.
It's only because when I make my schedule, I don't know when the holidays are, so I'm like, oh, I guess I'm working Labor Day. To start, we're going to do something pretty fun. Cecilia is going to play a beautiful song for us in the beginning, and at the end. And if you want to talk to Cecilia about what you're doing, we'd love it.
Okay.
Here, it's Cecilia.
So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cecilia St. King, and I am known as an inner peace troubadour. And I have been traveling the country for over 16 years performing concerts for peace across America. And my work is endorsed by the United Nations, the Gandhi Institute for Nonviolence, and the National Peace Academy. And I have a concert coming up on September 22nd for the International Day of Peace. And I thought that I would introduce a couple of songs and hope to encourage you all to come to my concert. This is called Everything.
Where is it?
Oh, it's at the Center for Spiritual Living in Boca Raton. And that's right off of Palmetto Park Road. Yeah, you take Palmetto Park, 95 to Palmetto Park Road. Oh, directions with music. and then you go east, and you make your first right onto 12th. And the center's right there.
I think we know this one.
Oh, 95 is so great.
That's positive.
Only in the daytime. Rush hour. I'm in the snowfall. I'm in the mountain top. In the breath that you take when you wake first thing in the morning. I'm in your baby smile. In that old man's sigh. In the bum on the corner bumming for her next dollar. With the worn out eyes. Can you feel it? Don't you know I'm in everything? In the rain that falls, the snow that falls, everything. Everywhere you look, you can see. Just look in the mirror and you'll see me. I'm in the hand that you're holding, in the man you're fighting, in the face of your neighbor. Doesn't matter if he's yellow, red, brown, or white. I am in the moon as it's rising, in the stars that are shining, in the sun that is warming the earth while it's spinning, suspended in the sky. Can you feel it? Don't you know I'm in everything? In the rose blooming clouds forming everything. Everywhere you look, you can see. Just look in the mirror and you'll see me. I'm in the tears that you cry in the darkest night, when you're searching for the answer, only left with a question, still wondering why. I am in everyone you know, I'm in everyone you meet, because the truth is I'm in you and you're in me. How about that, y'all? Can you feel it? Don't you know I'm in everything? In the well, in the spiral, everything. Everywhere you look, you can see. Just look in the mirror and
Michael.
Awesome. Thank you, Sue. That was awesome. Beautiful.
You're welcome.
All right. So before we start, I'm going to start with a couple announcements. One thing we're going to do starting this month, I'm going to call it Pure Lifer Night. 2 Thursdays of the month, we're going to have people from here actually give a lecture on something that they do. So if you guys are interested in ever doing a lecture here, let me know too, okay? And you have the whole floor to yourself. You can say whatever you want. So no one will get mad at you. So this is going to start in 2 weeks. We're going to have a woman named Holly do a talk on I think it's on, what's it on, Karina?
Tension. Toning down tension.
10 things to tone down tension or something like that. A lot of T's in there. I know that. And then later on in the month, we're actually going to have Shay do a talk on empaths and empowering empaths, correct?
Empathy and Oneness is the lecture, and then the Empowering Empaths is September 7th.
There you go.
October 7th.
October 7th, sorry, yeah.
So if you guys are interested in doing a talk on anything, let me or Karina know. We'll write it down for the next couple months too. Sound good? Really want to encourage this. And this leads us into, recently we've had a lot of talk, a couple people have been helping us about the future of Pure Life and where we're headed. Honestly, guys, to me, this is what it's all about. Community. Building this community up. If we had to label what's the one thing that we do at Pure Life, it isn't just about health, is it? I mean, do you guys feel that? It's not just like health. It's not like a health clinic. It's not what it is. It's this community of beautiful people who are really conscious. I would say this about everyone in here. Conscious, wanting to get better, loving each other. And here's the thing, we all want to shine our light. So what we're starting to envision is the next steps of Pure Life. Where do we want to grow from here? I feel like we're already starting to kind of outgrow this space a little bit. Do you guys feel that at all?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a smaller crowd typically. Our Mondays have been packed. Having a place to hang out. So we envision a place where we're going to have kind of like a coffee, tea, health bar, maybe a juice bar attached to it, and a place to really hang out and start having community. Having a lot more classes. Having coaches come in, do talks, having yoga classes, things like that to participate in, and really boosting up that community. Does that sound good for everybody?
Yeah.
Awesome. In order to do that, one of the things we're really starting to promote is just our breakfast talks or our orientation talks too. Everyone here, I think you guys do such an amazing job. I just want to thank you guys for telling your friends about this place. I mean, this is how we built the whole thing. Is just, hey, refer people, let people know about us. And I think they just feel the love in the community, and that's what's going to keep building this. So thank you guys so much for that. So any comments you guys want to make about that, or any other ideas about the future here?
Where?
That's a great question.
Boca.
Anyone has a good plaza or something like that?
Boca.
It's gonna be. We want to keep it in Delray.
I love Delray.
There's some talk about maybe like expanding here in this plaza because it's a good location. We really love Delray, Boynton, or Boca around those areas. It's just a matter of finding what fits our needs. I have a year left in the lease here. Doesn't mean we can't break it early if things go right, but we'll see. Okay.
Or expand.
Yeah, or expand this way. We can always expand that way too. So just kind of keep your eyes and ears open for the community, and we're really looking forward to developing this into some really fun stuff. And we want you guys to be a big part of it too. Sound good? Awesome. Look, it's like quiet tonight. You guys feel that way? So why are we doing this talk on healing consciousness? To me, this is probably the most important factor whether or not someone's going to get well or not when they start care here. What are their beliefs about health and healing? This dictates what your consciousness is on healing, dictates what you believe. It dictates every action that you take as far as your health and what you do with your health. Okay? Now, remember we talked about archetypes. One of my archetypes is called an intuitive healer, and it's in a very spiritual house for me. And what that means is this. I was blessed with a gift of just having almost blind faith that my body heals itself from a very little age. As a kid, my mom would tell me to take an aspirin, and I wouldn't do it. I'd be like, man, I'm good. I just knew my body always got well. And because of that, I've never been in the hospital, knock on wood. Haven't taken any medicine in, I would say, about 15, maybe close to 20 years since now. Just have this inherent belief that my body heals itself always. And because of that, I think I've lived a very blessed life healing-wise. But I know what I've realized when I first got into practice, I started to realize that most people don't believe that, do they? There's a lot of fear when it comes to health. So what this talk is really encouraging people to do is really, and some of it is going to be review for a lot of us here. There's been a couple of the talks. But I really want you guys to understand the lies we've been told about what health is, and more importantly, what disease is. What can we get well from? What can't we get well from? How much power is actually inside of us? And hopefully at the end of it, you guys just understand there's really nothing you can't get well from. It's all a matter of just up here what you're seeing, okay? So hopefully we talk about it. Guys, what is our natural state?
Healthy.
But I'm sorry, before we get into that, what are some of the false beliefs that we carry about health? Anyone have any false beliefs or beliefs they want to share?
Well, just that as you get older, your health goes down, and it really shouldn't be that
Right.
way.
So Mary Jo says, oh, getting older, right?
Like you're guaranteed to get decrepit.
I can't tell you, one of the most common things I hear is like, oh, I have this pain, but I'm just getting older,
I hate that.
right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Are you supposed to feel worse the older you get?
No.
Is that a belief that a lot of people have?
Yes.
Absolutely. We blame on feeling bad as a normal, natural state. It's not. Okay, we're not supposed to crawl into our grave in agony and pain. It's not the life we're meant to live. What other beliefs? Any other beliefs?
It'll starve if I don't eat in a few days.
Right? When it comes to fasting, whoa, I can't eat a whole day without eating. Oh my God. Anyone have that belief and they did it and no problem at all?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Happens all the time.
So funny, none of us said that. None of us raised our hand there. That's good.
Right? I'm sure some people here said it, you know?
Genetics.
Genetics.
Oh, I'm gonna inherit this. I'm gonna inherit that.
It runs in my family. I let people say that. Well, it's I'm supposed to have this. My mom had it. My grandmother had it. So we've had a couple talks on genetics. Is that true?
No.
Not true at all. Less than about 2% of all disease is genetic in nature. It's the lifestyle and the environment that we're surrounding ourselves in. So we understand. Wow, these are deep in us. There's a lot in us we don't even realize that we have. So hopefully, I want you guys to start being conscious with your health and understanding any negative beliefs you have towards health. Okay. So what is our natural state of being? Is it natural to be healthy or is it natural to be sick?
Healthy.
Right? Is it natural to get sick
Yes.
and to have pain? Who here thinks it's natural to get sick and to start having chronic pains as you get older and start doing
not
that?
Not like that.
Oh, so what are you guys calling sick then?
Healing.
Just like your fibers cold.
Okay.
Perspective.
So right away, let's start talking about that belief. When I eat something that's bad for me, and my body responds in a healthy manner by getting nauseous, vomiting, getting some diarrhea, what do we call that?
Sick.
Is that sick?
No.
Detox.
We call it expressing health. Oh, I'm expressing health right now, right? My body's healthy, it's getting stuff out of me. So this is another false belief. We don't even know we have it. So when I say, wow, is it natural to be sick? And we all say yes, it's a false belief. Is it natural to express health in different ways? Absolutely. Is it natural to have symptoms? Sure. You guys see that? Okay. So, who here says this is our healthy state? Only one
Yes.
person?
No, I
Natural
agree with that
state.
entirely.
Health is our natural state.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be healthy. Are we born healthy or are we born sick?
Usually healthy.
We're hopefully born healthy and we should stay healthy. Now here's the question. If we really believe this, would it be easier to be healthy or easier to be sick?
Healthy.
It should be easier to be healthy people. Yeah.
Health should take care of itself, meaning this. I want you guys to think of a cork in water. What does a cork do in water? Floats. Health is a cork floating in water, right? Here's my cork. That means in order for me to be sick, I literally have to take that, grab that, and pull it down. Exert force to get sick. What happens when I let go of that cork? Naturally floats back up.
Damn.
I want you guys to realize this. What is health? The cork, you call it Coke. The cork, not Coke. The cork floating up. It means this. There are certain things that we're doing pulling us down, but the only thing we have to do to be well is what? Let go. And once you let go, does it mean that you're already up here? No, it's going to take a little time for that thing to float back up. But it's floating back up naturally, without any force, without any effort. That's the state I want you guys to all understand, is what we're all in right now. We're all these corks that are floating back up to the surface, to the state of ease. So, real quick review, how is our health maintained? What is health?
Function.
Health is function.
Optimal level?
Optimal function. It means every cell of your being is doing its job. If every cell of your being is doing its job, you can't get sick. So what tells every cell what to do?
Your head.
Your nerves,
Right? Put it this way, you have an infinite wisdom that created you from one cell. When you're born, you're just a sperm and an egg. Or when you're created, you're just a sperm and an egg. And within 9 months, that sperm and egg turn into 75 trillion cells. Do you need a drug for that to happen?
No.
Do you need someone telling your body what to do for that to happen? Or is it a natural state that happens and it unfolds beautifully and perfectly? Right? So that's how much power is within us. And when we're born, this infinite wisdom uses our nervous system to transmit energy to every cell of your being, and it tells every cell what to do, when to do, how to do it. Right? We're all good with that, right? So health is really simple. Health is every cell doing its job all the time, and what's directing that is this infinite intelligence generating energy flowing through your nerves to every cell, telling them what to do. That's how easy health is. So let's talk about our current paradigm. These are the questions we never ask. Why do we get sick?
Because we think you can.
Right? Number one, what's our paradigm? We believe, wow, we're getting older, we're supposed to be sick. What's our current paradigm talk about? Why do we get sick?
It's also stress related. People allow stress to.
Imbalance.
So let's go into this because this is fun. I like this being more of a discussion than a lecture too. Stress. Does stress cause disease?
Yes.
Yes.
Who says yes?
It's in
Emotional,
combination.
physical.
Who says no?
It's with other things.
Semantics, right? Stress, if you have 10 people and you submit them all to stress, do they all get sick?
No, everybody handles it differently.
Right? So what's the difference between them? How well they
Belief system.
adapt. Adaptation is a sign of life. Who do you think adapts better? The person with a healthy nervous system or the person who is stuck? Right? Stress brings out your weakness. And we'll get into too what that looks like. But stress brings out your weak areas. Alright? But stress inherently doesn't. And in fact, a lot of stress can make you stronger, right? A lot of times, like what is working out? It's stressing out the body, and your body adapts and becomes stronger as a result of it. So stress is actually a really good thing in small doses, right? So, why do we get sick? I want someone to tell me, why do we get sick? Well, in our current paradigm, what are we taught? If you get diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, why did that happen?
They usually say it's like an outward force, like you caught something or something happened to you.
Yes. Without them even going into it, you guys have to understand, there's a philosophy in everything, a why in everything, and in our current paradigm, we never explore the why. But what Shay is saying is in our world, they're saying a disease is something that you catch, something that you get. I'm diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. You have multiple sclerosis. What does that mean? It means someone gave it to you. You took it on. This is how we believe disease works inside of us. This is our consciousness with it, okay? So why do we get it? We still haven't answered that question. Why do we get this disease?
It's your body's natural defense mechanism against trying to heal itself.
Okay? So what are we taught? Like, if my thyroid isn't working, what are we taught? We ask the doctor, why did I get sick?
I don't know.
One of you said it already. Maybe it was you, Cecilia. They might say, I don't know, maybe it's genes. Right? Another one might say, wow, I don't know, maybe it's germs.
You know, they say things like the flu season.
The flu season's coming. Watch out for the flu. You better get your shot.
Oh, I hate
I
that.
stopped getting it a few years ago.
Right?
It's the worst.
Is it the germ that creates the disease?
No.
Or is it your body's inability to adapt to it and having disease tissue already inside of you?
What's your body's defense mechanism against the disease inside of you?
It's called your immune system. But even further than that, do the germs even bother you unless you have an environment for it to thrive in?
No.
There you go.
Right.
What's the purpose of bacteria in this world? Anyone know what bacteria does?
Isn't it good for us?
Cleaning? Yes.
Nailed it.
It cleans out the system.
Yes. Bacteria, viruses, and you can even read articles on this. When the flu virus comes inside of you, does it attack all of the cells?
No.
What does it attack? Anyone know?
The bad ones. Yes. The ones that are done sick.
The disease
Disease
damaged
ones.
cells. Because guess what they're doing? They're actually cleaning up your system. What they do is they actually flag parts of your weakened cells, and what does your body do with it? Your immune system comes through and cleans out all the dead, decaying cells.
So it's good.
Once-
for the flu.
That's positive. Right?
There are a lot of people, and you can read articles on this, say, wow, if you get a flu once a year, you're actually really healthy, or a flu-like symptoms, it's really good, because what are you left with when the flu is gone?
The stronger ones.
A stronger, healthier body.
And you get the fever, which makes your temperature rise, which helps to speed up your metabolism.
Yeah, beautiful stuff, right?
Wow.
What are we
Stomach
talking
jack
about?
in
Our
ourselves.
body is created so
Never
perfectly.
die.
Dose or something?
So understand this. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, they're there to break down dead, decaying cells. That's what they're there for. Okay? So, if you have a body that is detached, your nerves are detached. If I cut the nerve going to my bicep, what's my bicep do? It decays. It's dead. Dead tissue. Okay? What's going to flock there?
Disease.
Well, what do we call it? We wouldn't even call it disease. Bacteria, viruses, parasites. If you eat a whole bunch of dead animal flesh and you put that in your gut, do we digest that well? No, really poorly, right? So that stuff goes inside our small intestine, in our colon, and it sits there. What's going to come and help us out? Bacteria, viruses, parasites. Okay? You have a whole gut filled with that stuff. Guess what your gut is filled with?
All that crap.
And then you start, and by the way, these things eat and they go to the bathroom just like we go to the bathroom. And that's what creates symptoms inside of us. And then you start having symptoms, you go to the doctor, they do a culture, and they say, oh look, you have this bacteria, this must be causing your problems. Make sense? This is our healthcare system right now. It's how we believe it works, it's not. So again, this is what we're taught why we get sick. Okay? Guys, what is a disease? Do we ever ask these questions? It's kind of fun to really get into. This is the philosophy of it. What is multiple sclerosis?
It's a bunch of symptoms.
So, anyone know what it technically is? I'm sure Sean does. Sean knows everything, man. He's smart.
It's
I'm nervous when Sean goes through talk. I'm like, oh man, I gotta be on my toes here.
It's a failure of your muscles to work properly. It's in layman's terms.
So, multiple sclerosis means this. When you look it up, it means your nerves have these wrappings, like a saran wrap around it, and it allows your nervous system to send messages quickly.
The nerve sheath, right?
Yes, the nerve sheath, right? So it's called the myelin sheath.
Yeah.
What happens, so if your nerve looks like this, and you have the one end and another end here that's giving off the signal, so electricity flows this way, there's this bundle of fat surrounding this. In multiple sclerosis, it means that these sheets are actually breaking down. And because of that, electricity doesn't move as quickly through it. So it's essentially your nervous system is starting to break down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the belief system that there's a lot of emotional causes behind disease?
So we can get into that.
That's a whole nother lecture.
Well, even at the end we can talk about that. I would love to. But I want you guys to understand, now depending on what nerves have this coming on, you're going to get different symptoms. But I want you guys to understand something. This person, what are they losing? They're losing cells. Cells are breaking down. And as a result of that, this person is getting symptoms. And what they do is they name the symptoms, they categorize symptoms. Multiple sclerosis. Did this person catch something?
No.
Or did they lose their ability to make new cells and create healthy cells? Something's interfering with their natural state. Something's pulling that cork down. Does that make sense? But you can have 10 cases of multiple sclerosis, completely different 10 cases. Okay? But they didn't catch anything. How about cancer? Do you catch cancer?
No, everybody has cancer cells in their body, but they just don't go active.
We all have cancer cells inside of us. Okay? So when somebody says, wow, I have cancer, did they catch something? No. Cancer cells are just mutated cells. They don't even know much about cancer. They don't even know what's causing anything. In fact, Otto Warburg, who won a Nobel Prize about it, pretty much said it was excessive toxicity coming into the system, mutating cells. So the cells couldn't make use of their mitochondria anymore, couldn't make energy anymore.
See the guy that said the disease cannot survive in an alkaline environment?
Kind of. He didn't say those words, and this is how people start to twist it. What he said was cancer is never found in an alkaline body, but again, it was because there is all this mutation happening and all this toxicity already inside of it. So a lot of people will try to alkalize the body, which is kind of the approach. It's not the full picture though, and I don't want to get into it because there's a whole bunch of details, but he's pretty much the guy who said, look, when your body is in an alkaline state, it's healthy.
Said oxygen too.
Yeah, so, but again, cancer patient has the same amount of oxygen in their blood as a non-cancer patient. So it's not the oxygen content. The difference is the cells of a non-cancer patient. So our non-cancerous cells can use oxygen. Cancer cells cannot use oxygen. They can't get it in their mitochondria because of the toxicity. But I want you guys to realize something. We all have cancer inside of us, but because we're healthy, our body will find it and destroy it and recreate new healthy cells. This is our natural state. It's natural to have a couple mutated cells that our body will find and get rid of. So when you have cancer, did you catch something or did you lose your natural ability? Right? You lost your natural ability, so your natural state is reduced. Something's pulling the cork down, but you didn't catch anything. Same with heart disease. Same
Wait a
with
minute.
autism.
I was at the World Trade Center when the buildings fell,
Yeah.
and I sang around for weeks on end, and then I wound up with I had cancer in my thyroid afterward. And a lot of people have got cancer after being having experienced that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say about that?
Did everyone around that same thing get cancer? Did everyone around the World Trade Center get cancer? Now, what you're doing is you're putting toxicity in your body, right? So again, like I said, I talk about this example a lot. If you have a whole bunch of flowers and I go through and I put poison over them all the time, you're going to cause mutation in there, and you're going to cause cells to mutate, which is what a cancer cell is. So you're around some really toxic stuff going into your throat system, causing mutations inside of there.
Right.
Now, number one, did you catch something, or if you left it alone, could your body heal from that? Absolutely, right? Are there people who heal from cancer?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So it wasn't that you caught something, it was that you took something in, a toxin, and you caused mutation inside of you. But if your cells if your nerves are healthy to that area and you're eating a clean diet, what's going to cause your body from going to that and getting rid of those cells and recreating new healthy cells? Does that make sense?
Okay.
So we're still looking at how much health and ease do you have flowing to that area versus you didn't catch anything. It wasn't like there was a magic cancer thing that you breathed in and oh, but you have cancer now. Does that make sense? Okay.
From that point, the key is eating healthy diet.
Well, part of it, even more important, is having a healthy nerve system.
Yeah, but the diet will give you a healthy nerve system.
So when we talk about this, what we always talk about is you have your brain, your brainstem, and your spinal cord. You have your skull that protects your brain. You have the top bone of your neck called your atlas that protects your brainstem. And you have the rest of your spine that protects your central nervous system. 95% of the population has this top bone out of place, choking down on the brainstem, putting pressure on nerves coming out, going to different parts.
So how do you hold it?
How do you hold what? The adjustment? Depends how long you've been subluxated for, how long that's been misaligned for. That top bone is only held in place by muscles and ligaments. If you've been misaligned since you were a kid and you're 50 years old, what do those ligaments you think feel like inside your neck? Think of ligaments like rubber bands. So when you're a kid, if you get an adjustment, boop, you have all these rubber bands that come right back and hold it tight, right? But the problem with it is this: the longer it's been out of place, the ligaments turn from elastic to plastic. So like a ring around like a milk carton, if you stretch that plastic out. So if I put that back in place, what are those ligaments like? Do they rebound right away and hold that? No, they're plasticky. They're still really stretched out. So they take a long time for everything to close back up. Typically, how many years? It takes that many months to get a full recovery. So it's the point now where it's like I get adjusted once a year, if that, and it's only if I really hit my head hard, right? Versus somebody who hasn't been under care and they're 50 or 60 years old, they're going to need some more time for everything to kind of start holding in place. Does that make sense, Brown? But it's a time element. You need time with a lot of this stuff, okay?
And rest.
What I want you guys to understand, fibromyalgia, what does that mean? What's fibromyalgia? Right? It's pretty much excessive muscle pain all throughout the body. So what happens is you have these symptoms, you go to the doctor, and they name it for you. Fibro is a type of muscle, my means muscle, algia is pain. So you go to the doctor and you say, wow, I have muscle pain, and he tells you in Latin, hey, I gave you a diagnosis, you have muscle pain. That's how it works. What is neuralgia? Algia means pain. What does nerve mean?
Nerve brain.
Nerve. So, wow, doc, I have a lot of nerve pain in my hand. He says, oh, I'll diagnose it for you. You have neuralgia. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Neuropathy.
My favorite is idiopathic. They can't figure out what it is after how many years. It's
Right.
idiopathic.
What does idiopathic mean? Anyone know? Means
Unknown source. They can't.
these were idiots.
They know. It's like how many?
Yeah, and here's the deal.
What does it mean?
Everything is idiopathic means no one knows. It's unknown.
It's like frustrating. You know, it's like you come through.
So like idiopathic scoliosis means, well, you have a curve in your back. We don't know why. But I want you guys to realize everything in this world is idiopathic.
Oh, okay. That's different.
Everything is. Guys, how complex is the human body?
Very.
So if you have any kind of symptoms, it's asinine to think that someone knows what's going on inside your body. No one knows. It's all idiopathic.
Oh, okay.
It all is. But what knows exactly what's going on? The infinite wisdom that created you. All of your healing power is within you all the time. It's the only thing that knows how to get you well. Always. I want you guys to understand this. What a disease is a collection of symptoms. That's it. They take a collection of symptoms and they want to classify it so they know what medications or procedures to do on you, and what's the purpose of those procedures?
Money.
Make
Money.
Yeah, well, to make money, but even originally, before it was about money, what was it about?
It's about trying to heal you.
It wasn't about healing you. What's the purpose of medication?
Oh, to mask the symptoms.
It's to manage a case. And that's a big difference to understand when you really get into medicine and the purpose of it. When we talk about cure versus cause, can medicine cure?
No.
Medicine doesn't cure. Never does, never will. Is there a time and a place for it? Absolutely. If you cannot produce insulin, hey, you need to take insulin. Make sense? Okay. But don't think for a second there's ever a medicine in the world that can cure you. It doesn't happen.
So it can help, but it can't cure.
Well,
And
what
maybe-
what does medicine do? It's there to manage symptoms.
We're saying in the sense of like, if you're not producing insulin, you have no idea why, you're fasting and whatnot,
Right?
then it's like,
If you don't have a pancreas, right, I'm sorry, if your pancreas isn't working well, the beta cells aren't producing insulin, you're going to die without it. So there's a time and a place for medicine, okay? But that's not the cure. You still can't produce insulin. You're not getting well from that. Make sense?
Yeah.
It's there to manage you while your pancreas still doesn't produce insulin. If your thyroid stops producing thyroid hormone and you have diagnosis of hypothyroidism,
Yeah.
the medicine doesn't cure you, right? What does the medicine do? It just helps you so that you're getting this number look right. But does it ask the question, what caused it? So there's a lot of walks to cure diabetes, walks to cure cancer. Where does that money go?
I don't know. I just know diabetes are the biggest cash cows, so they don't want to really cure it. They just want to keep people on those medications because they're making so
Right.
much money. Those
There you
two.
go. There's a lot more money in managing disease than getting to the cause of disease. So here's the deal. Who here has cancer in their body?
Milk
Raise
it.
your hand. Who here is curing cancer every single day? How are we doing that?
Eating well, optimal health.
Because our natural state is ease. All the time. Is there any of that money saying, wow, let's research how the body naturally works and how it's naturally killing stuff? No, that's not where the money's going. It's looking for a magic bullet, which they're never going to find, and most of it goes towards managing the diseases. Anyone know how much chemotherapy costs?
Ridiculous amount of money.
about 20,000 around, which you go every 2 or 3 weeks,
It really knocks the crap out of me.
right? And how does it work? Does it work by curing you?
No, it knocks the shit out of
It
everybody.
literally is like dropping an atomic bomb off in your body. It kills everything. And we say, wow, hopefully it doesn't grow up. I use this analogy. It's kind of like if you have this beautiful city and on a couple streets you have some crime going on. It would be like dropping off an A-bomb, blowing up the whole city, and then say, hopefully it rebuilds without any crime. Let's just pray.
I worked in a pharmacy in high school, and I actually had the privilege of making chemotherapy in a full radiation suit, in a full like bulletproof glass thick hood, in rubber gloves, and then
Toxic.
extremely toxic, and then
Wow.
they put that into your body. So I had to be completely covered from radiation, and then they go and put that into a saline bag and give it to a patient. Does it really cure you, or does it make you even more sick?
And guys, how do they administer it? Anyone know?
Through an IV.
Through an IV, right? Now I want you to understand this. Your blood, what's the pH of your blood always?
98.
Usually slightly alkaline, right? That's usually what it is. If you eat anything acidic, does your blood turn acidic?
No.
Your body works on a, what's it called, buffering system, where even if you eat acidic stuff, your body will keep your blood extremely alkaline. What's the pH of chemotherapy? Like 3 or something ridiculous like that. And you're dumping that directly into your blood system.
No wonder it knocks the crap out of everybody.
Yes. And again, what's the success rate of chemotherapy? Anyone know?
About 30%.
It's actually less. It's about 2%
Oh, wow.
after about 5 years.
My cousin just was gone through breast cancer recently, and they told her she went the chemotherapy route that she'd have to do it the rest of her life.
This is what they're doing now for people. I've had a couple of patients come in and they're on chemo for years and years and years.
It's like endless torture.
Yes. So, but it's understanding this stuff, guys. There's no cure for it outside of you. Right? It's treating disease versus reestablishing health. Treating disease is like I'm pulling the cork down underneath. What is treating disease going to do for that?
Keep it down.
It's keeping it down. It's not changing that relationship at all, right? Versus understanding what is health, where does it come from? A healthy body cures itself. So your focus should always be on reestablishing health.
How come some of the people who just said, no, I'm not going to take this crap, I'm going to do it, original, they regained it and and they told they had like a year to live, and here they are 10 years later doing health thing, and some of the other ones who tried it just died anyway. Is that because it started too late more than anything?
Possibly, or they don't understand what health is and where it comes from too, because we're never taught it. Like, where does health come from, guys? It comes from the infinite wisdom using our nervous system to deliver all of the energy to every single cell of the body. That's step 1. And then step 2, what you put in your body, the food you intake, has a massive effect on all of this stuff as well. So most people don't know what to eat. I knew a gentleman who had horrible, he was a chiropractor, horrible brain cancer, was told he had about, I think they said it was 6 weeks to live, and he was in his early 30s.
Oh, wow.
Right? He decided to cut sugar out, went the ketogenic route. No sugar, no carbs. Did excellent for about 2 years. So 6 weeks, he didn't do any chemo, any radiation, went ketogenic. He pretty much starved his body, did a lot of water fasting, did nothing. His tumor shrunk away, and for 2 years he did wonderful, but he stayed on a ketogenic diet. Ketogenic usually produces lots of acid inside of you, and then 2 years later, 3 years later, came back with a vengeance, and he was gone. Right? So there are some people who do it, and they do get well temporarily. But there are other ways that you can get well. I've known people who've gotten over cancer and it's been 20 or 30 years, right? Eating a really clean diet, getting their nervous system healthy as well. So it's understanding what is health and also this consciousness. I also know people who are doing the right things, but they're obsessed with disease. They can't stop thinking about the cancer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're like envisioning the cancer eating their body. How are you going to get well when that's what's on your mind all the time? Is that focusing on health or is that focusing on disease? Yeah. When you really get down to it, guys, this is what I really want us to understand. There's only one cause of disease, and there's only one cure of disease. And you're going to think I'm crazy. right? This is what B.J. Palmer was talking about. This is the big idea. There's only one cause. So let's go through this. What's our natural state?
Health and health.
Health and ease. Cork floating is ease. Make sense? And then one of two things happen. Either you have an accident or fall and this top bone misaligns and it chokes on nerves, and let's say it's putting pressure on the nerves going to my lung field, going to this nerve. What happens to this part of my lung? Is that in a state of ease anymore?
No.
Are those cells getting the proper messages?
No.
Are those cells working with the rest of my body?
No.
Think of a symphony of, you have the conductor, which is like the brainstem, telling every single instrument what to play, when to play, how loud to play. That's what your nervous system is doing with all the parts of your body. So they all are playing together. What's a symphony sound like when it's warming up? And we're doing all those. Disharmony. Imagine if your body operated that way. How would you do?
Not good.
Not good. But there you have a conductor, your brainstem, that's coming out and sending energy to all the cells, telling them, hey, heart, you need to speed up right now. We're going for a run. You need to pump more blood so your liver's getting more blood, for example. Make sense? And now you need to slow down and be quieter, and you need to work harder. You need to produce these hormones. That's what your brainstem is doing. Imagine during the concert if the conductor came out and gave earplugs to 3 of the people playing instruments and blindfolds. And then they played music. Would it sound pretty good for the most part, except for those 3 people, right? Over time, would that affect everybody else in that orchestra? So, guess what a subluxation does? Puts pressure on this. This is not in a state of ease. Guess what we call that?
Dis.
Dis.
How about that?
Okay, guess what dis-ease will lead to?
Sickness.
So what will happen to these tissues over time? First of all, you might not feel it in the beginning. If you keep doing that for longer and longer and longer, this starts to build up to the point where you start to have symptoms. Once you have enough symptoms, you go to the doctor, and what does the doctor do?
Gives you medicine.
Gives you a diagnosis. Now you have a disease. A disease is just those cells not doing their job. Make sense? So, dis-ease will lead to a disease. So if it happens in your lung field, you might get a diagnosis of maybe asthma. Make sense?
Yeah.
If you have other disease cells in your lungs, let's say you start to have rotting away tissue in there, you might start to have bacteria in there or a virus. And you might get something called pneumonia, a diagnosis, because you have dead decaying cells in there, right? Makes sense. You have a whole bunch of virus or bacteria forming in there to eat away that cell. And you start to get symptoms. You go to the doctor, they take a snapshot, they take a culture, and they say, look, you have pneumonia in there. Make sense? Okay.
We have some friends, though. We have a mutual friend that has an autoimmune disease. I'm not going to name any names, but they can't seem to get better.
So, let's we can talk about it specifically if you want afterward too. Talk about it because the principles are always the same. Okay. Now, number one, how clean is that individual on the inside? How much work are they doing to clean out? How long have they had the symptoms for? Because you have to imagine if you had this since you were 2 years old. Most 2-year-olds don't even know they have this. Most 2-year-olds have something like this. They don't know it, and then they get a little bit older. They may have a little bit of asthma growing up as a kid. And then all of a sudden, when they're 60 years old, they have so much diseased tissue around here, they had no clue. Because most, bless you, most things are asymptomatic, meaning you don't feel them. You don't feel the tissues inside of you. And then all of a sudden, you start to get these symptoms, and then boom, you get this diagnosis. But there's a lot to clean up inside of you. Okay? But again, you guys see where the diseases are. These are diseases. What caused the diseases? Tissue's not working right because you had a subluxation or you had a whole bunch of toxicity. If you're smoking cigarettes, for example, all the time, how's your lung feel? A little more mutated, a little bit more disease. You're going to have more bacteria and virus inside of there. Okay? If this same thing happens, but not to the lungs, it happens to the liver, what might you get diagnosed with? Maybe a fatty liver? Fatty liver disease, what else? Maybe cirrhosis? I don't know how to spell it. What else?
Jaundice.
Maybe jaundice. Maybe you get gallbladder problems. You have to get your gallbladder removed, all this stuff. What about in your colon? Maybe you get cancer in your colon. if you're eating a whole bunch of toxic stuff and it's sitting there acidic in your colon, what happens to the cells of your colon? They start to mutate and turn acidic, right? You start to get cancer cells inside of there. Okay, what else? You might get something like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Make sense? All different names of just different symptoms. What does colitis mean? Anyone know? It means inflammation of the colon. Inflammation is the healing process. So a lot of people have a whole bunch of acid sitting on their colon and their body's constantly trying to get well over and over and over, and they're just living in a state of inflammation in their colon, creates a whole bunch of symptoms.
I had a coworker who had that years ago, and she was also a smoker. That didn't help any.
I'm sure it did. You just have more acids coming in. Your body has different ways of getting that out. What if it's in your muscles? What if your muscles aren't working well? Right? Possibly ALS. Okay, even scoliosis. The muscles in your spine aren't working right. If you have a subluxation, it's putting pressure on the nerves, controlling the muscles of my body, and I get a weakness on one whole side of my spine. What happens to my spine? It starts to get crooked. Idiopathic scoliosis. We don't know what's causing it. There's no drug or surgery to it. Yeah.
So what do you think about diseases at birth? Like if you're born with cerebral palsy or something?
Well, for example, spina bifida is a nutritional problem, and you have to start looking generationally, like what's the mom's nervous system like, because that baby's developing inside the mother. What's the mother's diet like as well? Does that make sense? So like BJ Palmer would talk about getting rid of disease. He didn't say it would happen in one generation. He'd say it happened about 3 generations. Okay? Your nerves affect your DNA that's being expressed as well. So if your mom is subluxated, which 95% of moms are when they're delivering birth, and they're creating the state that the baby is growing in, just like if you have a mother who smokes cigarettes all the time, what happens to that baby?
Toxic.
Right? Back in the day, you guys remember when the babies were born, they actually used to give mothers all this heavy medication, and then they started to be born with flippers and things like that, not developed arms. So the condition of what you're putting inside of you also affects the child. Make sense? I use this story a lot. One of the first kids I ever checked was a baby who was born and had a tumor on its heart, right? And its heart rate was speeding all the way up, and then it was crashing down. The baby was like bright red like a tomato. And I went and I adjusted the baby. They wanted to do surgery on the baby. They had no clue what was going on. They just wanted to do surgery and maybe take the tumor away. So I got to go in and adjust the baby, and within a few hours the heart rate totally normalized, and a couple days later the baby was released. And I saw the mother about a month later, and she said the tumor completely dissolved and went away.
Did the doctors know what you did?
No, I have to sneak in, so don't tell anybody, but you have to sneak in, unfortunately, because heaven forbid, you know.
Well, it's too bad that they weren't aware of it, though. That's a shame.
I wouldn't be allowed to be in
I was
it.
just gonna
Yeah, so it's not about that. So guys, here's the world we live in. We go to the doctor. What we're taught to do is go to the doctor when?
What's that?
Here. What's the solution?
Medication and operation. Medicaid operate seems to be the mode in the US.
Right. Put it this way, if I have cancer of my colon, what's the solution? Usually surgery.
Yeah.
So hey, we got rid of this. They got rid of the disease, meaning they got rid of the symptoms. Did they do anything about what caused the disease? Makes sense? This is our healthcare system. This is why we are taught to understand disease from this level, and that's it.
Do you believe in, I've done like a series of colonics,
Right?
and I think they're very healthy for you. I did them last year, did a series of 10, and then this year I went and had a colonoscopy done, right? And I say to the doctor, oh, you know, I did a series of colon cleansings, colonics, and she goes, why'd you do that? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Boom. They're in this world.
Yeah.
They're not going to understand this because you guys have to understand this is the philosophy that we're only taught to think to this level.
Right.
Name a disease, name a symptom, manage the symptom. This is our healthcare system. What I'm asking, what takes forever for us to really get into, is to undo this and start looking beyond this and start focusing here. What creates ease in our body? What creates health? Become obsessed with that. Sean, you have a question?
What's somebody with like born with like articular fibrillation?
Atrial fibrillation. Again, it's the same principle. We look here. We look at what's creating ease. Show me that person, and let's keep working on the nervous system, looking at it, looking at what's inside of that child, looking at the diet of that child.
So is there anything that can't be cured?
Well, let's get into it. Let's go down here. First, let's go over here first. So how do we get well then?
Fasting.
From reciprocal care.
Right.
So I want you
adjustments.
guys to understand this, and I use this in my talks a lot. You may have seen this before. I want you guys to understand one thing. What gets you well is the energy coursing through you. Like, what is getting well? How do we get well? Healing means to make whole. What is getting well? If you have damaged sick cells, they'll never heal up. Did you guys know that?
Okay, what?
Damaged sick cells, your body won't heal them. It'll kill them and recreate new healthy cells.
So what if it kills your heart cells? I mean, then you're dead.
With the infinite wisdom of your body,
Brain cells, right?
be that stupid as to say, hey, let's replace this all at once. Where does it happen in levels and stages? Right? Works on a triage system. Your survival is number one. The infinite wisdom of your body is incredibly intelligent. It created you from one cell. It knows when, it knows where, it knows how to do all of this stuff. Our egoic mind does not. And this is where we have to start surrendering into the infinite wisdom that's creating all of this ease inside of us and completely trusting it. Okay? But here's the deal. This infinite wisdom creates this energy. And this energy is what goes to every single cell of your body and tells it how to regenerate itself. So if you have a cell, that cell can only regenerate itself if it gets enough electricity running to it. And where does that electricity come from?
Nervous system.
The nervous system, the brainstem up here. Everything comes back to energy. If you have energy, life energy flowing to a part of your body, it gets well. If it doesn't, it dies. So when I say one cause, one cure, this is what I mean. All of these diseases, you have tens of thousands of diseases nowadays. Did you guys know they list pregnancy as a disease now?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Pregnancy is a disease. So we can put pregnancy down here if you want. All of these, except for pregnancy, this is not up here. All of these, what caused all of these, guys? Dis-ease from this. This or this. Flows down, and depending on what cells it affects, creates different symptoms. And those symptoms are what they diagnose it as. So all these tens of thousands of diseases all have the same cause to it. They're just cells not working right. Cells that aren't in ease anymore. That's it. Make sense, everybody? So, let's talk about it from an energy perspective. I talk about this a lot. There's no such thing as darkness or lightness. It's all about energy. So, there's just energy. If I'm in a dark room, how do I make it light?
Turn the light on.
Turn the light on. I flick a switch, and what does that switch do? What's going on through that bulb? Electricity or energy is increased into this room. I experience that increase in energy as what we call light. How do I make the light room dark? Right? Is there a dark switch that I hit? There's not a separate entity, is there? It's just the same entity, it's energy, and how do I get rid of it? I just reduce the energy, and when I reduce the energy, I experience this thing we call darkness. Same thing with hot and cold. No such thing as cold. How do I make something cold warm?
The more hot water.
You increase the energy. You increase the energy, you increase the vibration of the molecules. We experience that as hot. How do we make something hot cold?
Freeze it.
Yeah, you slow down you reduce the energy. And when you reduce the energy, we call that cold. Make sense? So let me ask you this question. What's it called when we have no energy in our body?
Tired.
We're dead.
Dead,
Yeah.
right, dead.
We don't have any job.
Then we'll put tired right here. Right?
Really
Yeah.
tired.
Come on, you gotta
Suffering down here, right? What's on the other side? Let's call this your full potential. Totally healthy, 100%. If I am down here suffering, how do I get well? You add energy. You increase the energy, which increases the ease in your body. If I'm over here, how do I get this? How do I get sick?
Eat pizza.
Eat pizza. You decrease the energy. And think about that, guys. When you eat meals like that, really high fatty, bad meals, animal product meals, 80% of your energy is in your gut. So what are you doing to all your energy? You're reducing it. It's getting sucked out of your body. You have less energy to do everything else. When you have a subluxation, what are you doing? You're cutting off energy to a certain part of your body. So what happens? Let's say you cut off energy to your lung. It starts to become dead, decaying. What happens to bacteria and virus levels in this area? Goes up, goes up, goes up. Makes sense? How do you get well? Take drugs and do surgery?
Not ideally.
How do you get well?
Stop eating.
You increase energy. What are high energy foods?
Bananas.
Bananas, right?
Rice.
So fruits. How about what does fasting do? It frees up all that energy, and then all that energy starts to flow again inside of you, and you get well. Does that make sense, guys? So how you get well is what you focus on is life energy. So let's do this little experiment. I want everyone to close your eyes. And what I really want you to focus on is feeling the energy teeming through your body right now. I want you to feel the vibration and the energy in your head. I want you to feel it into your shoulders. Feel it coming down your shoulders into your hands. Feel your hands just vibrating, tingling. Now feel that energy going down your spine. Feel it in your heart. Take a big deep breath in and out. Feel that energy in your lungs. Feel it fill up your intestinal tract. And then feel it going down your legs, into your feet. And if anyone here has any kind of pain or problem, take an extra 10 or 20 seconds and just feel that energy being directed to that area right now. Could everybody here feel the energy in their body? Mm-hmm. That's the energy that heals you. It's the energy that can get you well from anything. Guys, one cell, that's what we start as. It's that energy that transforms all of that into who we are today. So let me ask you, what are we capable of healing? Everything. Absolutely everything. Doesn't mean we're going to 100% of the time, but are we capable? Yes. Absolutely. So don't let anyone put any doubt in your head. What does it feel like when you heal? Does it always feel good?
No.
I just want to give you guys a glimpse of kind of just how my mind works. You know, if I have something going on in my body, am I 100% pain-free all the time? No. But I never freak out about it. If I have anything going on in me ever, it's really simple. I get my nervous system checked right away. Step number one, I tune in my body, I either fast, I juice cleanse, or I eat raw for a while, and then just trust the process. And just know my body's gonna get well. Why wouldn't it? What would block it from getting well? Does that make sense? It's the power that created the universe. So what I want to do is read a quote from you, from B.J. Palmer, the developer of chiropractic. And just to show you where he was at. It might resonate with you. It's called the Chiropractor's Creed. Excuse me. We chiropractors work with the subtle substance of the soul. We release the imprisoned impulse the tiny rivulet of force that emanates from the mind, flows over the nerves to cells, and stirs them into life. We deal with the majestic power that transforms common food into living, loving clay, that robes the earth with beauty and hues and scents the flowers with the glory of the air. In the dim, dark distant, long ago, when the sun first bowed to the morning star, this power spoke and there was life. It quickened the slime of the sea and dust of the earth and drove this cell to union with its fellow in countless living forms. Through eons of time, it finned the fish and winged the bird and fanged the beast. Endlessly it worked, evolving its forms until it produced the crowning glory of them all. With tireless energy, it blows the bubble of each individual life and then silently, relentlessly, dissolves the form and absorbs the spirit into itself again. And yet you ask, can chiropractic cure appendicitis or the flu? Have you more faith in a spoonful of medicine than in the power that animates the living world? Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool, right? When you guys really understand that, wow, the power that's inside every single one of us here right now, it's unbelievable. That's what's doing all of the healing inside of us, all the time. Okay, so don't ever be fooled into thinking that something you take from the outside is what gets you well. It's all within us all the time. Okay? Does anyone have any questions? No? Nothing?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
Is that why when I do, let's say, a water fast, if I start feeling like I have a temperature, because it's working, it's burning off bad bacteria, or?
When you do a water fast, what you're doing is you're saying, okay, infinite wisdom within me, I'm going to let you have full control of all the energy inside my being right now and do whatever with it you want, whatever you want to do with it. Right? When you eat food, you're saying, no, I'm going to make you break this stuff down. I'm going to take 80% of your energy away from you. So it depends on the person. So for example, if you're experiencing a fever when you're doing that, what that means is that the infinite wisdom within you is saying, wow, thank you so much, Pat. Because now I can take all of that energy and I can burn up all this extra stuff that you don't need anymore. I can kill all the disease-damaged cells that can't handle this temperature, all the cancer, all the bacteria, and start to get this stuff out of you because you're giving me a chance to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions or comments? Prem?
Can you be deficient in something, like deficient in something?
You absolutely can. However, again, you start to get into this stuff. This is the one thing I wanted to say. Number one is beliefs. Right? Like I said, there are people who only eat potatoes. And they have everything nutritionally they ever could possibly need inside of there. Okay, there are people who eat a ton of bananas, they don't have any sodium, yet their sodium levels are perfectly fine, and their potassium levels are kind of low. No one knows how the body works. Nobody knows it. But, again, I want you guys to think about it this way. This is just energy, right? There's no chemical. Chemical is just how we, in our mind, understand energy flow. So I want you guys to think about it. Life is literally a dream. That's all it is. Yeah, it's consciousness. That's all life is. So just like if I'm in my dream, can I control my... If I'm understanding it's a dream, it's called a lucid dream, I can start to really control the dream, can't I?
Yes.
Right? So if my arm gets chopped off in my dream, can I grow a new arm?
Yes.
Right?
It's your dream.
That's the potential in this world. You know, what did someone like Jesus do? Here's fish, here's bread, we only have so much. Matt, it's cool. Check this out. Here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. How does that happen? Right? It's God's dream. We're all part of God's dream right now.
And these things and more shall you do.
Yes. But how much do we not believe it still? You know?
You can dream it, you can do it.
Yes. So we just don't dream it yet. But that's what the path that we're on. Does that make sense, Prem? So we are nutritionally deficient in some things if we believe that. But also, even if we still are in that level of consciousness, what's the best thing that can direct us towards what we're supposed to eat? A book that we're supposed to read and say, oh, these foods have this in it? Or really learning to tune in to what my body is craving. And trusting that, even if it sounds absurd and crazy.
But what if you're not in tune with that? You know what I mean? What if you're not...
So that's the belief system. We all are. It just requires us to sit quietly and turn this off and feel. Walk around the store and just be like, wow. Start to feel the energy of the food as opposed to just looking at it. Really start to like pick it up, play with your food a little bit. Go to the store, like play with the fruit there. Pick it up, smell it, feel it. Use your senses with it. Does that make sense? Really start to feel it.
I have problem with the word belief.
You have what?
Belief is more than believe. You can believe the truck is not going to run you over and stand in front of the truck and run you over.
Right.
Believe or no belief.
Right. So it goes about this though. To me, it's about tuning into the infinite wisdom within you. Because you're absolutely right. This is what B.J. Palmer said about, and this is going to be perfect. Talking about, Cecilia, you asked about your belief system with emotions causing disease. B.J. Palmer believed the exact opposite, because this energy also directs upward. So he used a very similar example. You can believe, like some people get in the world of your thoughts are everything. If you think something, it's going to happen. So BJ would say, go into a room, turn the light off with somebody, tie them up, and say, I want you to just think about the light turning on. Tell me if it turns on. Now, it depends on what level of consciousness we're talking about, though. So on some level, that's not an accurate thing. On some level, if you really, truly believe with all your heart that truck's not going to hit you and it's a dream, it might go through you, who knows what, miracles happen. You guys have seen those crazy videos on YouTube of like angels showing up and trucks being diverted, who knows what, right? So it depends on what level of consciousness we are going to talk about, okay? But on some level, you're right. If we're on this dimension in this world, this third dimensional world, the world operates through universal laws. So where do your thoughts come from? Where do your emotions come from and your beliefs?
Your head and your heart.
Or do they come from this infinite wisdom directing energy up there? Right? Think about that. You can have 3 people with the same trauma, do they react the same way?
No.
Right? So we can start going into this crazy conversation like free will versus not free will and all this stuff. We won't go into that. But essentially, hey, clear out your nervous system, eat really clean. Is that going to affect your thoughts and your beliefs?
Yes.
Absolutely. You're probably not going to stand in front of a truck. Maybe you will, I don't know. We're supposed to. It's all perfect, right? So, did anyone else have a question? Do you have a question, Sean? No? Anybody else? That's it? Oh, Karen, please.
I just had a thought. I'm really curious about learning more about brain health and mental illnesses. And I know that, fixing that and having the energy flow again and eating clean, that helps a lot. But what about people that really suffer from schizophrenia or other really tough mental?
It's the same exact principle, just with different tissue involved. So B.J. Palmer, like I said, he bought a psych clinic in about 1950, and what he did was he took all these people in the insane asylum off all of their medications, and he adjusted them, and about 70% of them got released back into society, totally healed up. Okay, it's not uncommon for people who've been on depression medications or anxiety medications for about 20 or 30 years, and they've tried to get off of them and they can't. You adjust them, and all of a sudden it's just like, well, I want to get off of this stuff. I don't have to take it anymore.
Wow.
So it's the same belief. It's the same exact system. It's, look.
Same thing with diet.
Energy is flowing. Exactly the same thing with diet. Energy flowing this way as well as this way. Make sense, Karen?
Yes.
So you open this up, you open up this here, but if you close this up, this tissue literally starts to rot away and die. So that tissue also, when you adjust somebody, boom, you let go of that. This is the healing time it takes. So brain tissue also needs to repair and heal as well. Okay? So, but the principles are all the same. And what Shay is saying too, you've heard of the gut-brain connection, right?
Yes.
I forgot what it is. Like with schizophrenia, they're finding now, I think like 40% of cases they're finding has to do with parasites in the gut. I talked to a guy, he had multiple personalities. So he literally had all these voices in his head. He would say he would feel like he had thousands of voices. He does a cleanse, and he had literally thousands of parasites come out of him. So what are those voices in his head? Right? So, but principle is always the same. What's the principle? Your body is made in a state of ease. Even if it's brain tissue, it's just tissue. The function of a brain cell is different than the function of a heart cell, But if there is energy flowing to it and no toxicity, you're going to have proper thought. Okay? Any other questions, comments? That's it? Love you guys. Thank you so much. All right?